Cher, the woman Hollywood couldn't break. What if I told you that one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived grew up so poor that she was placed in an orphanage? Not because she was abandoned, but simply because her mother couldn't afford to feed her. And that same little girl went on to sell over 100 million records, win an Academy Award, and completely reinvent herself not once, not twice, but over and over again across 6 decades? That's not a movie script. That's the real life of Cher. And trust me, the story gets wilder from here. Most people think they know Cher, the iconic voice, the outrageous outfits, the comeback that never seems to end. But what most people don't know is what was happening behind the curtain. The financial control, the bitter legal battles, the marriages that looked perfect on TV and were falling apart in real life. So let's get into it. The full, unfiltered story of a woman who refused, again and again, to let the world write her off. Cher's real name is Cherilyn Sarkeesian. She was born on May 20, 1946, in El Centro, California. And right from the start, life didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for her. Her father, John Sarkeesian, was an Armenian-American truck driver with a serious gambling problem and a drug addiction that made him an unreliable presence at best. Her mother, Georgia Holt, was a dreamer herself, a woman chasing her own acting ambitions in Los Angeles while trying to hold together a family that was already unraveling. Their marriage collapsed when Cher was just 10 months old. 10 months. She hadn't even learned to walk yet, and already her foundation was cracking. What followed was a childhood defined by instability, moving constantly, struggling financially. And at one point, Cher was placed in an orphanage for several weeks, simply because her mother couldn't afford to keep the lights on. Let that sink in for a second. But here's the thing about Cher. Even as a little girl, there was something in her that refused to dim. She was performing before she had a stage, singing before anyone asked her to, choreographing little shows in her head while the world around her felt like it was falling apart. She was obsessed with Audrey Hepburn. That elegance, that presence, that sense that a woman could command a room without saying a single word. Cher wanted that, badly. When her stepfather Gilbert Lapierre adopted her and enrolled her in a private preparatory school, her classmates reportedly couldn't take their eyes off her. Not because she was trying to stand out, but because she just naturally did. She looked like a movie star who'd wandered into the wrong building. At 16, she made a decision that most teenagers couldn't even imagine. She dropped out of school, packed whatever little she had, and walked straight into Los Angeles. No money, no connections, no safety net. Just this burning, almost reckless belief that she was meant for something bigger. To survive, Cher took whatever jobs she could find. During the day, she studied acting. At night, she danced in clubs along the Sunset Strip, scanning every room for an opportunity that might change her life. She understood something early that most people take years to figure out. In a city like Hollywood, talent alone doesn't get you anywhere. You have to hunt for your moment. You have to be bold enough to put yourself in the right rooms. Her moment came in 1962, when she met Sonny Bono, a low-level assistant working for the legendary record producer Phil Spector. At first, Cher was literally working as Sonny's housekeeper, just trying to make rent. But Sonny saw something in her and introduced her to Phil Spector, and suddenly, Cher found herself standing inside a recording studio for the very first time, singing backup vocals. And the second she opened her mouth in that studio, she knew. She was not built to stand in the background. By 1964, Sonny and Cher had gotten married in a hotel room in Tijuana, Mexico, which, honestly, feels very on-brand for them. They were performing together under the names Caesar and Cleo, releasing singles that went absolutely nowhere, failure after failure. But Cher was dealing with something that might surprise you: crippling stage fright. Every time she stepped in front of an audience, she instinctively looked to Sonny for reassurance. And ironically, that is what pushed Sonny out from behind the scenes and turned him into her performing partner. Sometimes our weaknesses accidentally create our greatest opportunities. In 1965, everything changed. Cher signed with Imperial Records and released All I Really Want to Do, which climbed to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. It wasn't a number one hit, but it was a door, and Cher kicked it wide open. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Sonny and Cher released I Got You Babe that same year, a beautifully simple duet that captured exactly what a generation of young people were feeling.